Hey you! Yeah you ever heard of Cuba? You know, that little island a little bit south of Florida, like 100 miles? Next to the Bahamas, that island, filled with slaves? Well, Spain owns that island. Spain. And what are we, like 2,000 miles expanded west and still going? Think about it. Cuba is only 100 miles south of us. According to this map, it's approximately 7,152 kilometers away from Spain. In American, that's 4,444 miles. The point is, it's really far away from Spain. It's right next to us. Technically, it's almost already ours. Like, all we need is the voice of God to confirm our manifest destiny fueled dreams, and then write it down on a piece of paper and get the signature of those overachieving Spaniards, and we've got it. Think about it. Spain can't control Cuba. It's full of slaves, and they've got it in their heads that rebellion might actually be a good idea. Rebellion? Well, any good, hardworking folk like us Americans, we know that that's the last thing any country needs, and there's no way Spain can stop it. But you know that we can. Problem is, Spain doesn't, and they've got some weird thing about learning, and hyperbole. That kind of hyperbole. Unlike Spain, we know what we're doing, and we don't exaggerate. Ever. And one thing we never exaggerate is slavery. Slaves are going to rebel if we don't do something, that much is certain. And imagine that inspiring the slaves across the Bahamas and Florida, and after Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Virginia.
Not Virginia.
We have to do whatever we can to stop this. So here is our solution. We take what is rightfully ours. Not only will this prevent rebellion, but after that mess over on the West Coast, California, admitting a new state with the pre-existing structure of slavery will bring balance back to our nation. Besides, Spain is already kind of mad at us. Cuba is way too close of an outpost for the Spanish military if they actually decide that fighting us would be a good idea. We've got it all figured out. Our representatives, Pierre Solé, our minister to Spain, has met with our French and British ministers, John Y. Mason and James Buchanan, respectively, and they've proposed to our Secretary of State, William L. Marcy, a fantastic plan. The Ostend Manifesto. The plan is simple. We offer to buy Cuba from Spain. It's flawless. Our great president, Franklin Pierce, has already agreed to this plan. And how could Spain resist? The money could go towards railroads, which they clearly need. And who would actually turn down a multi-million-dollar offer? And if they are dumb enough to refuse, well, we'd be more than justified in wresting the island from Spanish control. After all, it is a matter of national security and…
Whoa. Just hold up a minute.
Excuse you?
Don't you think you might be leaving out some important bits of info here?
What?
Well, where should I begin? Maybe with the fact that your manifesto of brigands here is a little more than a call to war in order to conquer yet more land to use in promoting the atrocities of slavery. By California, I assume you're referring to the admittance of California as a free state in the Compromise of 1850. If I recall correctly, you Southerners got that absurd fugitive slave law out of that deal. And besides, you're willing to drag the Union into war over conquering a territory that has been peaceful towards us? Or worse, paying that absurd amount of money, $120 million, really, in order to take it over, and then further your own selfish ends by creating more land for your slaves to, well, slave over? Have you not read Uncle Tom's Cabin?
Well, no, I mean, it's been on my reading list for quite a while now, but
Let me give you a quick summary. Slavery is cruel and wrong.
But the practicalities of it.
Hardly justify the horrendous means by which they're achieved. And besides, your only justification thus far has been that Cuba's proximity is a matter of national importance. But for most of our great nations, the termination of slavery is much more important than the possibility of expanding it. This is just a last-ditch effort by the South to reverse the abolitionist tide sweeping through our nation. In no way does Spain pose any threat to the American public or our nation, no matter how close their outpost is. Cuba is just a farming colony. This isn't some great military force there waiting to sweep in, just farmers and their slaves. The modern world looks at our use of slaves in disgust. Our civilized brethren have already stopped recognizing it as acceptable. We must stop this kind of practice among our people. Your Ostend Manifesto would only be a step backwards in the progression of our nation. Not to mention, the consequences of such a movement would only increase the conflict between our two opinions. You're basically supporting a civil war.
Excuse me, I think that's going a
I
little
think
bit
you're
too
not
far.
even going far enough.
Well,
I
you know
can't
what,
believe that your opinion
Well,
that we should
my
conquer
opinion,
Cuba. Conquer
this isn't
Cuba.
an opinion,
You
this
don't
is a
even,
fact
you don't
of
even,
war
you don't
and
even
matter
want to conquer
and
Cuba. You just
Cuba
want to
and
take some slaves
Belgium.
from people.
I'm talking
Belgium,
about Belgium.
Created using Powtoon.